And there we go. We're live.
Hello.
We're welcome. Or you're welcome. I'm welcome. I don't know.
What?
It's too early. Let's start it. Well, that's the end of it. Let's try that again. Welcome to Take It Down a Notch with Rob
And Lynzee.
and Lynzee. We are having troubles this morning. I don't know.
We really are.
The
I was like
roadcaster
that.
decided to not function this morning. I don't know. I'm afraid we're getting echo.
I'm
but-
sure we are. I don't know. I don't hear the same kind of audio that they do.
Yeah. Well, you are coming through on two channels here. And so I don't know. I don't know. Let's hold on. Let me try something. Now you go ahead and talk. No, I muted you. That's pretty good. I can just make you so nobody can hear you. Now you're back.
Rude.
Rude.
Yay.
That's me. That's me. How are you doing?
I'm good. I'm good. I'm a little tired.
So time is not synchronized with America and France anymore. We're off by an hour.
Yeah, we're off by an hour, so now it's 8 hours instead of 9 hours, and boy, has it messed things up. I am totally. It's totally messing everything up. I don't know what's going on.
Yeah.
But it's just it's harder. It's I have to be available like an hour early for the calls that I have in the morning, and then Mom and I are gonna be struggling until because we call in the evening,
Right.
and so I can't really do earlier than I already wake up because I already try to get up, like wake up and call her as soon as I wake up, basically.
Right.
Um, and that's now like kind of too late. So, anyways, and it's gonna be like that until I think like the end of March. So another like 2 weeks. So, anyways, it's fine. It's not the biggest of deals. It also it might make it so I can call a few more people, but it also makes it so like I wanted to do a few more calls this week with grandparents and such, and it's too hard to add to the schedule because the schedule's all messed up. So
Right.
I don't know. Maybe next week, now that I'm a little used to it, I'll be a little bit more
Yeah.
aware, but it's hard. So, anyways,
Crazy.
that's that. But yeah,
Okay. Well,
that's what it is.
it's weird. You would think it would be more universal across the world, and we could all decide to. Actually, I think
Change
the U.S.
like the
I
same
think the
week.
U.S. changed when we are doing it a few years ago, 10 years ago or something. I think
Okay.
I think it was one weekend, and then they moved it to another weekend. I don't know.
I
Weird.
don't know.
I don't know. I don't know
I
why
don't
we
know
change
how
it.
or why.
I don't know why we change it. There
Yeah.
was I was listening to a podcast the other day, and the guy's like, I don't know who decided you could cut off a yard of fabric off of one side, sew it on the other, and then you have more fabric. It doesn't work that way. We have the same amount of fabric. There's the same amount of daylight. Just keep the time the same. But
Yeah.
I don't know. I wish we'd just go off of Greenwich Mean Time like pilots do, and we just decide. Washington decides. We get up at 5:06. We start work at 5:06 Greenwich Mean Time or whatever, and then at least you know it's 5:06 everywhere in the world, and it's just you work.
It's
Your
yeah,
daylights,
no,
your
I agree with
daylights are.
that.
And it would be weird for a year or so, and then everybody would get used to it, and it would be like, well, you don't work. You don't go to work at 9. No, everybody doesn't go to work at 9. And everybody
No.
didn't go to work at 9 anyway. So some people
Yeah.
work at 7. Some people go to work at
Everybody has their own schedules
11.
anyways.
Some people work nights. Some people work days. It's just,
But the fact that we've been spending 10 years talking about whether or not we're going to change by 1 hour shows you that we do not progress very quickly.
no. Well,
Yeah.
in the U.S., we've decided, pretty much everybody's decided that this is stupid. We need to not do it. Now we're arguing over, do we go on daylight saving time or do we go on standard time?
It doesn't matter.
It
Just
makes
choose
no
one.
difference. It makes no difference. The day is the same length.
No one cares. Just choose one.
Yeah.
The
So I
problem
don't know.
is the change. I don't have a problem with the 8 hours. It's just that it's a change.
Yeah.
So
No,
it's
it just
changing your routine. I
messes
don't
up
have a problem with the 8 hours. It's just
the schedule.
like the 8 hour difference. It doesn't make a difference. It just you have to get used to a change.
Yeah.
So, anyways,
I don't know. It's not so. I don't understand. My simple mind is not able to comprehend why
I
we
think
do this.
some people just are overcomplicating it. I think that's the problem.
Yeah. So I don't know.
Anyways, we probably have the same podcast that we talked about this last year.
Probably because I hate it. It messes me
I
up.
know.
It
It
messes me
messes
up
me up
so
too.
bad. I always I always feel like I'm sick for like 2 days. I don't know
Hmm.
why. I
Yeah,
shouldn't be that susceptible to the change. I don't understand.
I don't know.
So anyway, but what else is going on? Anything exciting going on in France these days? Not a lot. Doesn't sound like.
I don't think so. We are our first Sunday service with our new church is this weekend, and Hugo's getting baptized in the evening.
Oh
So
yeah,
we have
that's
a
right.
nice weekend coming up. Um, so yeah, that's really exciting. But other than that,
Is the
not really.
family or anybody coming for that or?
Yeah, it sounds like Hugo's whole family is going to come: his brother, sister, and his mom and dad. So
Oh wow.
yeah, yeah. So that's exciting as well. So it'll be hopefully it'll go well. Um, like with the family coming and stuff, and hopefully the Sunday service in the morning will go well. But I'm not too worried about the baptism. I'm more worried about I'm going to be one of the people that's going to be baptizing him.
Right.
So to be standing up in front of the whole church, it's not a big church, but still, for that long in support of Hugo, and he's going to do his testimony, which he's really nervous about,
Yeah.
and then to be like dunking him,
Yeah.
I'm nervous about that. So
And the water's not very deep. I I understand.
no, so I think I might have talked about it in another podcast, but so it's a short, basically, it feels like a kiddie pool. No, it's like 2 or 3 feet tall.
Oh,
Probably
wow.
not
So
even 3 feet
catchy.
tall, but it's not full of water, like at all, like not even half full of water. I think that because our pastor's going to be setting it up, he's going to try to add more water than they normally do at this church.
Yeah.
But yeah, normally they don't fill it up that full of water. So he's like, we're gonna fill that up. But with you like being with Hugo being like submerged in it, but he's gonna be going from standing
Yeah.
to all the way down, like laying down.
Well,
So
you got to remember that Hugo takes up space. So if you fill it up too much and then he goes into it, you have water on the floor.
right, well, yeah, no, that's part of it. So
So
yeah.
depending on how big it is, the displacement can be a problem. No flooding the church. That'd be a bad start to your relationship with this church.
No, it's okay. We're all leaving this church. We're not. We're not really.
Okay.
We're all going to continue going in the evenings, but we all, or not all, but the few of us that are starting the church in the morning,
Hmm.
technically aren't like members of the church. I don't know.
Okay.
It's kind of complicated.
Yeah.
It's a good way to say it's kind of like our youth group. It's kind of like
Right.
our young adults, you know. So, because there's lots of different people every time, and it's mainly young people. It's our bilingual service that we go to
Hmm.
in the evenings. And we really love it. We love the sermons are really good. The worship's great. The community is really great. But we're just pivoting
Hmm.
towards making another church like our home church because this one hasn't ever been like our home church.
Right.
It's always been kind of like our second church. So we left the first church that Hugo and I were a part of
Hmm.
to support this new baby church that's starting this weekend. So,
Nice.
yeah, yeah, we're pretty
Well, I
excited.
know you guys put a lot of effort into making it making it go, helping the pastor out and stuff. So
Yeah. Yeah.
hopefully, hopefully that'll be good. So the uh, yeah, that should be good. I'm looking for. I'm missing
You have a
some.
camera problem?
I'm missing some information here. There we go. So anyway, so we were gonna
Well,
talk,
yeah,
huh?
we have a subject today.
We have a
We have
subject.
a subject.
We're gonna talk about work. About work,
Yeah.
making a
Okay,
new one.
well, yeah. Okay, so I have an update about my work.
Yeah.
So I
So
haven't told mom this yet.
okay. Well, let's before we update. What do you do so far? Before
Okay.
we update, let's go
So
back to the. Let's start at the beginning.
let's start
Well,
at the beginning. Okay, so
let's
in
maybe.
November, I started being a English TA, a teacher assistant, basically. And I work in three different elementary schools in France near where I live,
Mhm.
in two different small towns, and I work in three different schools. So I work 2 days a week. One of them I'm in all day plus 2 hours the next day, and then one of them I'm in for just the morning, and one of them I go to for just like 45 minutes, a little bit more normally, but contractually I'm supposed to be there for 45 minutes. Um, it's my podcast alarm.
Yeah.
This is normally when I'd be like, oh, I need to make a coffee and set up my computer for the podcast. Sorry, I forgot that was on. That's really loud. Uh,
That's funny.
see, normally I'm an hour off. Normally, this is when we start.
Yeah. So.
Anyways, so that's what I do for work. I work with the teachers.
Mhm.
So it normally means that I am the one who is teaching the class with their assistants to help explain like grammar, to translate what I'm saying, because I'm supposed to be more immersive and just be speaking in English. I do a little bit of Franglish or Franglais. And do a little bit of both, but for the most part, I'm supposed to be just speaking in English. The main goal is to one, share like the American culture with the kids, and to be able to introduce like different English speaking cultures through these assistants that they've put in different schools. Um, and the other goal is that like they work on pronunciation from somebody that doesn't have a French accent. So especially in elementary schools, these teachers don't really know how to speak French, or they do know how to speak French, or I mean English. They don't know how to speak English.
Yeah.
I don't know how to speak French. So they don't really know how to speak English, or if they do, it's very heavily accented and really just what they're used to teaching.
Yeah.
And so they're kind of a little bit more limited, or they don't feel very confident, and they're just teaching the basics. And so a way that they've decided to fix this is to have English assistants. So that's my job. I really enjoy it. I really enjoy teaching. It's really fun for me when I'm surrounded by French, to a certain amount. That my job is in English. It helps me be a lot more confident in my job. I
Mhm.
think because here it's kind of a constant battle of like, am I going to be able to understand this? Am I going to be struggling? Is this person not going to understand me? It's this like constant thing that's there.
Right.
Whereas that all goes away when I'm like, well, it's English. I'm supposed to be speaking in English and encouraging the kids. And so I think I'm like, well, that's my first language. So it's a lot easier, in my head than like, okay, well, at least I don't speak a lot of French. Which I do speak a lot of French, like with the teachers. I try to speak as much as possible. And I do try to translate myself for the most part.
Right.
So, so I still do a lot of French, but there's not high expectation of my French, I guess is what I'm trying to say.
Right.
And I also really enjoy like with the kids and working one on one and getting them to pronounce things and like correctly, and um, playing games to memorize vocabulary and stuff like that. I really enjoy it. I really enjoy the teaching aspect of it. Um, and elementary kids are really fun. So, and when they're really little, they're like, "Whoa, you're from America? That's crazy!" So, yeah,
that's
yeah.
that's pretty
So
fun. And then
my
you
big,
and then you volunteer teach
oh yeah,
in the evening, right?
yeah. So I volunteer once a week with refugees, where I teach English. There we have, it's called a Refugee Oasis. It's a missionary run organization that was started a little over a year ago and in Nantes, and has already spread just recently to Paris, and Spain. And they're working on spreading it to other countries. So, for the fact that the organization has been alive for a year, and it's just thriving, is really crazy. It's very, I know the people who started it, well, who were like the first people who were in the organization, not the people who started it, but the people in the organization. They're some of my good friends here, and they do a great job. And it's very much so. They tell me all the time, they're like, it's very much so God, because there's no way that this could go this well when it was like a really not planned out thing. It was like basically this pastor who came from a church to come and see other missionaries or something like that. And he just saw this need and basically was like, cool, I'm going to start an organization. And he was the head pastor at his church and basically was like, well, at the end of the month, I'm no longer going to be your head pastor. You have to find a new head pastor. I'm going to go to France and live in France. And him and his wife, I think, lived here for about 6 months, maybe a little bit more. And then they decided to return and that they would do better being kind of like a base camp in the US so that they could spread um, it to different countries, and I'd be able to support RO from like some from distance. And then it's my two friends who are leading it now. So, anyways, very quick summary of how it started, but there's a lot of refugees in France, as a lot of European countries, um, from countries like Afghanistan, um, like Sudan, other African countries as well, basically all of the African countries. And so they come and they learn um, French, and then there's also English classes. So, yeah, yeah, I enjoy that as well.
That's cool.
Yeah.
All right. And then it sounds like there's something new, maybe,
Yes. Okay. So I
or
have
an update.
two things.
Update.
So I have an update on my teaching job, and hopefully, mom won't be mad I'm saying on the podcast before I tell her. But my contract was just renewed for 2 months.
Oh,
So,
you did get
yeah,
renewed.
really good news. Yeah.
So there was
So,
questions on that because a lot of the teachers say they don't renew the contracts.
yeah.
So
So,
this is goodbye. Get out.
yeah. Yeah. So I basically had to ask for it to be renewed. I had to ask all of the head teachers at my schools to send in like, we like Lynzee, please give us Lynzee for 2 more month letters. And I had to write like a big letter of why.
And these are teachers that you don't teach with, right? Those are like
I do teach with them.
oh,
Yeah,
those are the
I,
teachers you teach with. Okay.
I do, but they're also the principals of all the schools.
Oh, okay.
So that's why they're the head teachers. They're, yeah, but I do at my schools. I do teach with all of my head teachers.
Oh, okay.
Not all of the assistants do, but I do. Just because that's how it works.
Sure.
So all of my head teachers, like the two at the other school, they're English. They're one of the people who run English classes. Um, like they're more, I think, more certified or something like that. So, and then my other one, all of I teach with all of the teachers in the school, at some point at least. So, the one that I'm there for a full day. So, anyways, yeah. Um, and then, so that, yeah, that's really good news because I had to ask, and they kept telling me, oh, it's not going to happen. And then some people were telling me, like, oh, yeah, they always renew it. Like, don't worry. And so it was really confusing. And I was like, well, I have no idea.
Right.
And so, yeah, it was supposed to be done April 30th. But I am now, to my knowledge, going to be working until the end of June. I haven't signed the renewed contract yet, because I do not have it yet, because I was just told like 2 days ago. So I don't know the exact dates. School ends like July 5th. So I don't know if I'll be
Oh
going
wow.
until like the last day of school or if I'll be going till like the end of June. But to my knowledge, right now, I'm going till the end of June. So, yeah, that's really good news.
Yeah.
And then the other thing, it's been quite the work news week,
Yeah.
is, and I'm not so sure about this. So, this is something I'll have to keep the podcast updated on because I don't really know how this is going to go. But Hugo found a job on Indeed that is for being like a tour guide in
Oh.
Nantes. And so I went ahead and I sent in my resume and got a response pretty quickly. And then they basically have like this automated online interview remotely thing. So it's like a questionnaire, and then you have to answer questions with audio files.
Okay.
And so I did that, and I just heard last night that I was accepted. So I don't know exactly where I'm going to go from here because I haven't talked to like a human being yet.
Hmm.
And I have been scammed once for a job here. And so I'm really wary
Right.
that this is somehow a scam. And so I'm in the process of making sure that it is real. To my
Right.
knowledge, right now, it is a real company that is like all over the world. And so I'm trying to find some like reviews of people who are actually tour guides, not reviewing tours.
Right.
And then at some point, and they said that there was going to be some delay, which is okay because I was not planning on starting this job right away.
Right.
Um, I don't really have time to add much onto my schedule right now. So I don't know exactly how this is going to work.
Right.
But it's supposed to be a freelancing tour guide position where I would take tours for like 4 hours or 8 hours, so the whole
Oh.
day, and take them around the city in Nantes, which is where I live. So it's for people who are, if they're listening, a city like Seattle.
Yeah.
So, and I am just doing walking tours. I told them I'm not using my car and I'm not biking. No. Um, and so, and they're also supposed to be in English because they only allow you to do a tour in a language that you're fluent in. And I think, honestly, I could probably do a tour in French, especially if it was with a small group.
Yeah.
But I didn't want to say anything.
Right.
So and I'm happy to just do. It would be very nerve wracking, but you know, if I memorized the script and did a tour, but all day and that kind of thing
Well, I think it might
would be a little tricky.
something if it works out, you could add. I'm sure you could add in French.
Yeah.
You know, go. Okay. Well, I'm available for French too, but
Yeah.
I think in the little bit of tours and stuff that we did around France, I think you probably because a, a lot of the foreigners coming into
Mhm.
France speak English, even if they're not from England
Oh,
or
yeah.
America, because it is so standard. So like when we were on the Salt tour, the Colombians and
Yeah.
the Spanish people were all
Germans.
everybody were
Mhm.
that was he did the tour in English, and then he did uh, he spoke a little bit in their language if they had like a particular questions because
Yeah.
they weren't as fluent in English as they were their own, but he wasn't going to do it in five different languages. So,
No.
so he just defaulted to English and then would speak French to the French people when, when it was a smaller group or if they weren't understanding the word in English or whatever, he would just
Yeah.
say it in French. So, and I don't know, I think he spoke like five different languages. So, yeah,
Something like that. I think if I remember right, he spoke English and Spanish and French, and then he spoke like a tiny bit of German.
that
Because I
sounds
think it
right.
was a German couple who was with us. I think if I remember right.
Something
But
like
yeah,
that.
we get a lot of Spanish speaking um, tourists or not a lot, a little bit of Spanish speaking tourists, and we get quite a few German. Um, and we get quite a few people who just overall do speak English. It is kind of a thing. We were just having a conversation with somebody the other night about how France in Europe is kind of known as a country that's like the worst country at other languages. They're so prideful of their own language, and they don't
Right.
learn English as well as other countries, which is so funny for like an American. And I kind of like just went like, I'm not in this conversation because my country does not do other languages. Unless you're in a family, you're not bilingual. Being bilingual is not like incredible. It's pretty rare. We're here
Nobody,
being
all,
bilingual.
nobody is fluent in a second language unless ethnically they have that language. So
Exactly.
if you're, Mexican American, then yeah, you're a good chance you're going to be fluent in both Mexican, Spanish and English. Or,
Mhm.
if you're, French American or whatever, then, it's spoken in the home, but you're not, nobody learns another language and becomes, then that's
Completely fluent. No.
nobody is in less than 1%
Yeah.
type.
Whereas here, it's like, oh, you're only bilingual. You can only speak two languages.
Yeah.
You can't speak three. Like, why can't you speak three? Like, it's
Which is
almost looked at like in other
ludicrous.
countries, it's almost looked at like that. Like, it's very but in France, it's kind of like, oh yeah, you can speak English. That's kind of cool, a little bit, but not as much as I'd say in the U.S.
Yeah.
I think at least. And I was talking to somebody, or Hugo and I were talking to somebody, and he was like, I go to other countries, and it's like, oh yeah, you're French. You don't want to learn it. You don't learn another language. Kind of a like, oh, you guys are, dumb. When
Yeah.
it's about pride, which most people know. But
And I don't know. I
anyways,
mean, we get a lot of, people are like, you're in America, speak English now. But I think it's more a matter of, um, we don't have, there's not the intermixing of, I mean, we have tourists and stuff, but it's not, if you're not in a tourist situation, you don't speak to tourists a lot,
no.
and foreign people, and even, the Canadians, they speak they speak English, even,
Well, and we also
even the
come from
French
yeah.
Canadians speak English pretty much. And yeah,
Well, and the US is not a country that naturally has two languages. There's a lot of
right.
countries like Switzerland and a lot of African countries and other countries too that have like multiple languages in the country. So if you just go to like the south side, there's another language. So where France is not like that, and the US is not like that, and so we're sticking to mainly our own language. I think that's a big part of it,
Yeah.
is that the people I know who are like trilingual is because they come from a country that naturally you speak multiple languages in your life, and
Yeah.
it's just normal. So I find that really interesting. I don't really know how that would work. Like in my head, it just doesn't work. Like being in a country that everyone just speaks like multiple languages, like just seems it's so foreign to me.
Yeah.
But for so many people in the world, percentage wise, that is the normal that
Yeah.
you are raised with multiple languages, as if the same as like bilingual families. Um, so I don't know. It's interesting.
Yeah. Well, it's, even if you learn another language here, once you quit learning it, you have
Yeah.
there's no use for it. So, um, on a daily basis, or
Yeah.
even a monthly basis, you just don't have, um, if you want to speak Spanish, there's opportunities to speak Spanish
Right.
here. But
Yeah, I want Hugo to kind of brush up on his Spanish a little bit before he goes, because he did almost, I think, as much Spanish in school as he did as in English.
mm,
Not quite. And he could kind of have a conversation when we went to Spain. But
nice.
I think it would be good. I'm like, okay, while you're young, I'm like, you could kind of maybe brush up on your Spanish. And I don't think he'd be like fluent,
Yeah.
but it's definitely in our area would be helpful in the US, not here.
Yeah. No, there's quite a few people that speak Spanish. Um,
Yeah.
as their first language. Um,
Mhm.
but yeah, you pretty much to get by on a daily, you got to speak English here, or you're gonna have troubles. I mean,
Yeah.
there's I mean, if you speak, there's a lot of Spanish speaking. There's a lot of like banks and stuff will usually have,
Yeah.
banks and grocery stores will usually have like one person around that could come and
Right.
help you out, but um, not like it is in France, where even with their being prideful on their language and stuff, there was a lot of people in the
Oh, yeah, a
stores and
lot of
stuff
people here speak.
that spoke
Yeah.
English, um, and could at least, they may not be fluent 100%,
No.
but definitely enough to get by and
Oh,
understand
for
some
sure.
basic stuff. So, but
Yeah.
yeah, that's really cool. That's really cool. So you're on to the next step of being a tour guide.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know how I feel about it
I
yet.
wonder.
I'm
I
not sure.
wonder. I wonder if they train you
There,
or
I've been
or what. They
told
must do something.
from the information that I have, but so I've gotten like two different things. Like on the website, it says that once you're hired, you'll be given like all the information you need and you'll be like somewhat trained.
Hmm.
And there's also like, I guess, like another safety procedure and like stuff like that.
Oh,
And then there is another thing that I like in my email. It says I'll be messaged with my first mission.
mm,
So I don't know if that means a tour or like if I'll be joining a tour guide to like wander around with them. I don't know. I don't really know. I don't know. And it's the nice thing about it is that it's supposed to be freelancing,
hmm,
and there's a good chance I won't know until like the week of. But I can say yes, I can do a tour, or I can decline work.
yeah.
So
I would
because right now,
guess.
especially
I
since
would
I've
guess
renewed my contract,
you probably have some sort of a calendar type setup, and you go, all right, in 3 weeks, I'm available on these days.
right?
Why don't you see if you can sell tours, and then you
Yeah,
get somebody sign up, and
yeah.
um,
And the other nice thing is apparently I should be getting paid. Apparently, I don't know. I should be getting paid the same amount whether I do half a day or a full day.
interesting.
So that's interesting. I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing. I think that that mainly will mean that I will only have full days. To me, that's what I hear. I'm like, okay, well, you're not going to pay me for half a day, like for a full day, and I'm only going to work a half a day all that often, like
Right.
most likely. So, but and it should be good too because I will be finished with work for the school in June.
Mhm.
And so I should have all of July and all of August, which is the busy tourist season, to go like to do tours all week round.
Right.
And they still hired me, even though I said I would not do evenings and I would not do weekends.
Okay.
So I'm sure that I'll get offered weekend opportunities. I
Yeah.
may occasionally do weekends, but I really don't want to work weekends. So yeah,
Well, it might they might be looking more for people during the week because it may be
yeah,
people that this is like a second deal, and so they're like, yeah, we more people want to work evenings and Saturday and Sunday because they're working
right,
during the week, and they're just adding money to their
yeah,
budget as opposed to somebody that's like staying home and like, yeah, I'll go out and wander the city for
right,
$100 or $15 or whatever it is.
right.
So
They said they in the interview they were like, give us like tour idea options that you think we haven't thought about already. And I was like, ooh, a cafe tour, a cafe hop. Wouldn't that be so fun?
yeah.
Because there are, and I did check this box. I was like, yeah, I'll do that. I'll do that. They do tours that are like food based tours.
Oh,
Um, and so I like offered up the idea. I was like, it'd be really fun to do like a cafe tour. We have lots of fun, different cafes in Nantes, and to go
yeah.
like from different cafes to different bakeries. And then also do kind of a tour along the way. But if I do like a food tour, my food is covered.
Ooh.
So
Well,
overall,
and the fun part about that kind of thing is you will make a relationship with the cafes. or the
Yeah.
restaurants or whatever,
Yeah.
because you're going to
No, that's true.
you'll be
Good point.
bringing in people on a semi-regular basis, say once a
Yeah.
week or whatever. You're bringing people in, and they're like,
Hmm.
"Oh, Lindsay's back.
Yeah.
Welcome." And if you're nice,
Yeah.
you you're nice and you bring nice people in. It you know and people like businesses like business. So um, yeah, I would think you'd build a good relationship, with those people that you'd be like,
I think so.
because
Especially there's
it's not like you
yeah,
go to the same. I mean, you go to the same bakery, I guess, across the street, but
right.
I mean, you guys aren't going out to dinner every night and stuff. Or if
Yeah.
you're being able to go and go, I'm the tour guide. I bring people
Yeah.
to you. Be nice
Yeah.
to me. I'll be nice to you.
Yeah. Seriously. I think it'd be cool. It's also something that'd be very outside my comfort zone, but I think it's still doable.
Yeah, you have to be like your dad. Be loud and take charge.
I know I'm being like one of those people with like the umbrella, like hold it in the air.
I we went to the hockey game. We went to the hockey game last weekend, and it was a little hard to not be judgy of the 50-50 raffle people standing around.
Oh my gosh. Oh, we should tell that story.
Disappointed.
Oh my gosh.
Disappointed in these people.
Weren't you? I might have blocked it out a little. I don't know. I think so. At the hockey game, 50-50 raffle, you know what that is. Anyone who's listening, obviously. And for a choir thing at Sky Valley, we did 50-50 raffles
No, it
for
was choir.
fundraisers
We are
quite
trying to
often.
remember what it was for. I was thinking it was
I think it was choir.
for uh,
Theater,
the
maybe?
play theater, but it could have
It
been
might have
choir.
been theater.
I don't know.
I don't know. It's
I
the
think it
same
was
kid.
choir. I think it
Dad.
was choir because I don't think it was theater people.
No, Dad, it's the same kids.
Yeah, but they weren't acting. I don't know. You're right. You're right. I
It's
don't
the
know.
same. It's the same kids. It's the same people.
You're right.
Show choir and musical theater at Sky Valley was the same group. It was just a different
Well, but the
activity.
choir is bigger.
The choir is a little bit bigger, but yeah.
Yeah.
But I don't know what we would have been fundraising for choir. We didn't really do anything with money for choir. That's why. I mean, maybe we had a trip or a competition that got canceled with COVID.
Yeah. I don't know. I
Maybe.
can't remember.
Anyway, it doesn't really matter. We were raising money for the school, and we were selling 50-50 raffle tickets, and we're all these like little teenagers that were paired with adults, and Dad is there screaming at the top of his lungs and talking to everybody. So funny.
That's what you're supposed to do.
He was. You're really good at it.
If I'm put in a situation where it is expected to me to be super outgoing and loud, I have no problem
You have no problem with it.
with being. But just to, I can't. Hopefully, I'm not like that when it's not appropriate. But I have no problem turning on the switch when it's supposed to be that way. I'm like, yeah, you're gonna know I'm selling raffle tickets.
It is you it was really good. I think we were like the top seller. No, there was one other. No, it was theater because I remember the person. You remember the person who did Mom's tattoo? Our
Yeah,
director, his wife, I think, or fiance or whatever. I don't know.
yeah, it was his
Who
fiance,
was
but
there that you sent me? You called me, and he was there.
hmm
She or he him and his daughter were doing it, and she is adorable.
oh,
Like
okay,
she was really short and cute, and
yeah,
he's really out there. He's a director and very charismatic. So
yeah.
I think that I remember them selling a lot too. And then I think like the Dallingers, they did it all the time, so they were really good at it. So I mean, it's a ton of theater people and theater parents. So like
No, we were all
we
going
did
for
not
it.
do that bad.
We were all
We're
going
pretty
for
high
we,
there.
well, and it was a good. It was a special night too. So not a good
Oh
night, but it was a
yeah,
special night because they had
he's busy.
announced that all of the funds were going to go to the families of some
That's
hockey players that had
right.
passed in a
A
automobile
big
accident
crash. Yeah,
that week.
yeah.
Really bad, where a van full of hockey players got in an accident and everybody passed away, and it was
Yeah.
to that community, which it's they're they're pretty um, they're really locked into especially the younger the hockey because it's junior hockey. It's not the NHL.
Right.
Um, so they're locked in that community, and they know a lot of the people that go have kids that play hockey, and those are
Yeah.
really personal. So they're like, yeah, normally I'd do $5 or $10, but I'm doing $50 today,
Yeah.
and so they sold.
No, that's true. I forgot about that. Then yeah, that makes sense why we did so good.
They sold a lot,
Yeah.
but anyway, they sold a lot of tickets on Saturday when we were there too. But I'm a
Yeah.
little judgy. Hard not to judge seeing the
Do you
people
want
standing
raffle
around the
tickets?
wall waiting for somebody to come up to them and buy 50-50 tickets.
Or dad's like, buy a raffle ticket.
Get your raffle tickets right here. Get your
No,
raffle tickets.
you did get at it. Okay, I gotta say that like I was just having a conversation about this last night that because Hugo led our group discussion for our life group and he did really well. It was really natural. I was super proud of him. He did a really good job. But I was talking to our pastor's wife before, and she was like, "Oh yeah, how do you think Hugo's doing?" And blah blah blah. And I told her I was like, I didn't. Hugo and I talked a lot about with our premarital counselors like expectations of marriage. It was a
Right.
lot of like, okay, who do you expect to take out the trash? Like, all these different like things. Like, okay, figure out your expectations of your partner before you talk about it. Your expectations with money. Who do you expect to be the one to pull out the credit card when you are at the grocery store? Like that kind of stuff. Like just all these expectations, little and big. And every week that we'd meet with our premarital counselors, they'd be like, what are your guys' new expectations you talked about? I didn't realize until I was married that I had an expectation of Hugo, not of everyone. This is not an expectation I have of everybody. I understand this is not something everyone can do, but I just had an expectation that Hugo would be able to sell raffle tickets, just get up in front of a room and be able to like talk, and like talk into a microphone and
Yeah.
do all these things, being in like a scout family. And like we are all naturally pushed into leadership in different
Right.
forms.
Right.
And I just never even thought twice that I was marrying somebody from a quiet family who he never did performances. He never did, where I grew up doing multiple performances a year. It's not, I still get nervous. But it's not impossible for me to do.
Right.
And I didn't even realize that I had this expectation until we were at our second wedding. And I handed Hugo the microphone and I was like, cool, okay, you're going to pray. Like, go ahead. And he was like, what? And I was like, yeah, you have to get everyone to quiet down and like be quiet so we can pray, so we can eat. So go ahead. Here's the microphone. He's like, I don't want to talk on the microphone. I can't do that. It was like 5 minutes of us arguing, of being like, no, just go ahead. You're fine. Go ahead. And so I had to be the one to be like, everybody shut up. Like, come on. Like, listen up. Ding, 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 ding. And then the same thing happened later when I was like, we did cold brew at our second wedding, and it was in France, and no one knows what cold brew is. And I wanted people to try it, and I wanted him to explain. And I was like, okay, cool. Explain how to do the cold brew. And he's like, no, I don't want to talk on the microphone. And so, me with my broken French had to franglais my way through explaining cold brew
You were
to
in your house. You had a
mainly
microphone.
family and all of Hugo's people. Don't you remember?
No, no, no. For the. Oh, is it cold brew at the wedding? Oh,
Yeah,
okay.
at the second wedding, we did cold brew.
That's right.
Remember how
I
like
thought
we
you were
did it in
talking
like a
about your
huge
cafe. I
pot
thought you were
and
talking
we
about
had to
your
like
cafe moment.
strain it?
Yes, I remember.
It was quite the drama. Anyways, it was after this that I was like, oh, I had this unrealistic expectation that Hugo would just be able to do this.
Yeah.
And so, anyways, when this whole leadership thing came around and we did all these different tests and, all these different things to figure out our spiritual gifts.
Right.
And when Hugo's like top one was teaching. And then we did another one and it was also teaching.
Mm.
and all these things. And then the pastor was like, cool, I'm going to teach you how to lead a group. I'm going to teach you how to put together a discussion and how I get like sermons put together. And I'm going to take you under my wing and we're going to do this. And I kind of turned to Hugo and I was like, you going to tell me you can't do that? Like, what's going to happen here? And instead, Hugo's like, that's a great idea. I love this idea. And I was like, this is going to be fun to watch. I was like, I don't know how this is going to go, but I was like, this is great. I'm excited. Like, I think
Yeah.
this is a great thing. I'm like, I know you can do it. I know that you are capable of doing it, but
Yeah.
this is cool. And so, anyways, he did a fantastic job. I was super impressed. I could not believe how well he did.
Was he nervous?
Um, he was a little bit nervous, but I don't think he was
Oh,
that as nervous
nice.
once he got there. I think he was nervous like a little bit before, like on our way.
Sure.
He did a ton of prepping, and so yeah, it was pretty cool to see. And it sounds like he's going to be leaving like once a month now. So
Nice.
yeah, and I think it's really great that one, our pastor is like looking to like one make himself replaceable.
Mm-hmm.
I think that, like, he's not trying to like build the church just off of him, make it so that that we can have different groups and that,
Right.
but also that he wants to take the time to like take Hugo underneath his wing. And I think that Hugo for a long time has had this like, and it possibly was me too, like who encouraged it, but um, like I think he had this thought about his faith that he's so new at this because he's been surrounded by people who have been in the faith for a very long time.
Right.
And I think he's felt kind of incapable and kind of like not ready and not knowledgeable enough.
Yeah.
And so for someone to say, like, no, you're ready, like you can do this and really push him to do that,
Mm-hmm.
I think he's gonna really grow into that. And he's realizing, oh, wait, I can lead a discussion about faith, and just because I don't,
Yeah.
absolutely know all the answers, which no one ever does. And I think that's what he's figuring out. So he's
Right.
like, there's not going to be a point where I'm going to feel ready, you know?
Yeah.
So,
Oh, that's really
yeah,
cool. That's really cool.
yeah,
Well, and people say their number one fear. So many people is speaking in front of groups
yeah.
of people. So um, that's not really been a lead trait, but
No,
the
it's really not. We're very loud.
we're allowed.
We just naturally talk in front of people because we're so loud. We just command the room.
Yeah. So anyway, well, there we
So
go.
I think, yep, back in France.
Back and forth. Well, we've been
Anyways,
we've been at this for a bit here. It's
I think
actually
so. So
less
next
than
week
so.
we're gonna talk about your work, and you're gonna talk about how you started your business.
Oh, okay. Well, we'll see. We'll see. Maybe.
I like how you start your business story, but
Yeah.
it's complicated enough. I can't tell it, so you got to tell on the podcast so I can be like, yeah, this is how he did it. Press play.
There you go. All righty. Well, with that, you guys have a great week, the rest of your week, and we'll catch up next week.
Goodbye. Da, da,
What's
da,
playing?
da, da.
Why isn't it playing?
I don't know why I started doing the Jurassic Park.